Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday afternoon, May the 16th, 2021. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. I'd like to welcome everyone to the show today. This will be my weekly update that I will be putting on YouTube. And we're going to go over methane, sea ice, and a couple of other things. So, it was quite an adventure this week with the NOAA data. We never know when things are going to be there or when they're not going to be there. But we did end up having a couple of days where the data wasn't good enough to take, but the last couple of days of the week we were able to get data. So let's go over the NOAA data first. This is for the 477/469 millibar reading. This is for yesterday, the 15th. The Methane satellite in the morning. The mean or average was 1905 parts per billion. The high reading was 2468. And see these pinks, how far south they're coming. And that's this range. That bright pink is this range, is the highest range. It's between 2,000 parts per billion and whatever is the highest number here in the range. This case, 2468. On the Methane satellite in the afternoon, the mean was 1907. The high reading was 2546. And see, we got pink down here over the Weddell Sea in the Antarctic. On the Methane satellite in the morning, the mean was 1887. The high reading was 2409. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1885, and the high reading was 2330. So here's the spreadsheet and chart that we're working off of. So the 15th averages out to 1,896 parts per billion. That's showing a decrease over the week before of 1 part per billion. So here's our line, the little blue line, going down for the second week in a row. Not much, but at least it's not going straight up. So last week it went down 0.5 part per billion, and this week it went down 1 part per billion. We're still really high. We're 19.50 parts per billion higher than we were a year ago. And since March the 1st of 2019, when I started tracking all of this, we've gone up 38.75 parts per billion. So this is this year. It's January. We're starting in here. And we're really off the charts. I mean, we're in areas where we haven't been before for this time of year. So I'll show you what happened this week. Here we were on the 8th, which is what I reported on last week. It was at 1897. Then on Sunday it went up 1.25. Monday it went down 1.0. Tuesday it went down 1.25. So Wednesday there was no data available, and the NOAA website, they had it all screwed up, but there was no data available on any of the levels for the 12th. Then on the 13th, they had all of the satellite datas up except for the Met-Op1 in the morning. There was no data for that. And that was the day that we had a spike in the range up to 2901. That was the Met-Op1 in the afternoon. So we can't really take an average or anything since we're missing one whole satellite reading there. Then on the 14th, it came out at 1898. That's showing, and so that's showing an increase from the 11th of 2 parts per billion. And then on the 15th, it came out to 1896, so that was a decrease of 2 parts per billion. So we ended up going down for this week. We went down 1 part per billion. And I've been tracking this data on a daily basis since February of last year, and so we're 1896, so we go back up to May the 15th. We were 1876.50 on the 15th. So that's where we're at with methane. It's not looking good. Now, we'll go ahead and look at the CAMS data. And CAMS has been weird about releasing data. They'll go 2 or 3 days without releasing anything, and then they start putting data up, and then all of a sudden it's all up, and days have fallen off. So far I've been able to record all of them, but here I have the 15th, Saturday the 15th up, Arctic view and surface level ready to look at. There's the color ledger. So the data is for Saturday, and the forecast period runs Sunday through Wednesday. And this whole area around Komsomolets is just percolating away. It's not stopping. And see, in the forecast period, see, it kind of breaks up and moves apart, but I mean it's still coming up. See the methane kind of spiraling out too, and so these lighter green colors, that's methane coming up through the sea ice as well. There was a recent interview done. Nick Breeze interviewed Igor Semiletov. He's a Russian scientist, and he's been studying methane for decades. It's his life's work, and he's Natalia Shakova's partner. Anyway, Nick Breeze interviewed Igor, and I encourage everybody to watch that interview and see the direness of the situation up here. And it was difficult for me to understand exactly what he was saying because he has such a heavy Russian accent, Igor does. But the takeaway was that there were, I think what I heard was that they found in the line area where they had research areas all the way across here. They didn't drop down here at CAMS NOAA, but wish they would have. Anyway, he said that they found, I think this is what he said, more than 2,000 areas just in the across the line where they were looking, where methane was coming up through the seabed, and that it was coming up exponentially, and that all of this could end up being catastrophic, and more research needs to be done, and this and that. And he's having a hard time getting more funding. So that was the bottom line. So here is this guy, this Russian scientist, who he's been doing this. He's dedicated his whole life to studying the methane and the sediment and going out there. He goes out there with his expeditions, and he's one of the few who's really going out there and doing the work and sees the condition of everything, the conditions out there, and he can't get further funding. You know, what's wrong with this picture? It's just not right. And I wish they would have had Natalia on there. She could have I understand her English a lot better than Igor's. I think she could have kind of interpreted what Igor was saying and helped us along to understand. But the situation is dire. We can see, you know, here we are in May, and I mean, it's higher than it's ever been this time of year, you know, 20 parts per billion higher than a year ago. It's not slowing down. And even though greenhouse gas emissions went down last year, the heating still continued, and everything is kind of baked in the cake. So, you know, here we are. Here we are. It's you know, like Guy McPherson keeps saying, too little too late, and I tend to agree that whatever we do, it's probably too little too late. And we've toxified the world so much, and that's my biggest problem with my health, is the air is toxic, the environment is toxic, and you know, it's just a battle for me every day to find things that I can bring into my home that are not gonna make me sick. And you know, I can't go shopping anywhere anymore because of the cleaning products that they started using are so much more industrial. I get sick from them. It's all toxic. So it's a whole thing. So, you know, I don't know how much longer any of this can keep going. It's it's all falling apart everywhere you look. So here we are. This is the North Pole view. And here we are. Here's this Persian Gulf. And it's totally filled up. Here's India. Here's China. See the green waves moving out. Here in North America, in the US, see, it's just filling up from the Midwest all the way over east. That's because of the rain precipitation that they've had, and they've got more. I saw a forecast today about the rains and flash flooding in Texas, and that's going to be going on for the next few days, and it's it's not good. Everything's out of whack. Now we'll look at, actually I want to show the North America view. I didn't load this up earlier, but it'll just take a few seconds for it to load. That's awful, isn't it? This is where the Mississippi River comes up. Look at that. Just big blotches in this east coast, and then up here by Canada. And it'll be worse once the rains hit Texas. Let's see, we've got Southern California, it's covered up. You know, the places where we need rain, we're not getting it, and other places just keep getting dumped on. So it's weather chaos. Now we'll go to the global view. So the big difference I see here is the purple is pretty much gone. There's just a little bit left here. It shows up over Australia, just briefly. But the rest is this dark blue, so that's the next higher level up. So it's gone from 1780 to 1800 parts per billion in the southern hemisphere, primarily that. We've got more lighter blues coming further south, and it'll fill up as we go through the summer. These light blues will fill up all the way. So there's that. Here we are at 500 HPA. So look at this dark line all the way across from India, across southern Asia and China, and then going up to Japan. That's the heaviest right there. And now we'll take a peek at total column. So here it's centered over China, then northern India, and then here in southern Asia. Now I wanted to show also we've got an ozone hole. Let's go to today. That's opened up over the Antarctic, and this area is kind of making the news because it's so much warmer than normal in that area too. But it's in the dark. All of this is in the dark now. So this is ozone. These are Dobson units. The bright yellow is 300 Dobson units. That's considered average. And then when we go down into the greens and blues, it's thinner than average. And then when you get that black line around it and then the bluish purple, that's in the danger zone. That's between 200 and 220 Dobson units. And last year, during the in the middle of the summer for the northern hemisphere, it was the winter for the southern hemisphere, we saw the big ozone hole open up, and it went to black, and which was 100 Dobson units, and then there was a white spot in the middle which was below that. So we were watching that. So it's kind of early in the season to be seeing all these ozone holes popping up. But I wanted to show you this. A couple of weeks ago we had it over here over the northern part of Antarctica. But it's still thin. Now see it kind of break apart and morph around. And see the aqua, that's still thin in the green. But it opens up today, and see it's kind of moving around, morphing there today, and then it goes away tomorrow. But it's still quite thin in the aqua range. Anyway, I wanted to show you that. Also wanted to show, while we're here, formaldehyde. Look up here. This is in Russia, or that's at Kazakhstan. Now there have been fires in Russia separate from the zombie fires over on the east side. This is on the west side. And see, this is carbon monoxide, and see where it's such a high reading. That's usually from fires that are burning. So it's some not just regular fires either. It's some kind of toxic stuff that's burning over there. While we're here, let's finish up these pictures and then we'll move on to sea ice. This is sulfur dioxide for today. And here's Iceland, and the last few days we've been seeing high readings of sulfur dioxide up here. The volcano is still going off up there. So I think this no doubt is from the volcano. We have high readings here off the west coast of Sumatra. We had a big earthquake here a couple of days ago. What was it? A 6.6, and there are volcanoes down there too. Also, here at Kamchatka we have high reading, so this is probably volcano related. Here it is at 500 HPA. This is where it shoots up into the atmosphere. So here, down here by Sumatra, and also here from Iceland. So it's spread out across the Atlantic around Greenland there. So those are the highest. And there's the ozone hole. That's all of those. Okay, now we'll move on to sea ice. Okay, these are pictures from Climate Reanalyzer for this week. Here we are today, the 16th. This is sea ice and snow cover. We're starting to see it melt around the edges. See down here in the Baffin Bay, it's coming apart here in the Bering Sea, Bering Strait, here in the Okhotsk Sea. Those are some of the places you can immediately see. And we'll go back through this week and see what has changed. What you can see here, it's not going to be real dramatic yet. Not a lot of melt has happened, but it's just starting. So here we were on the 9th, last Sunday. Here's the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and then today. And they didn't have new data yesterday, but that's what we've got there. So that wasn't real dramatic. I do have Navy data, and earlier today their website was down for hours and hours, but this afternoon I checked again and it was up. So here's sea ice and snow cover for the Arctic. This is from the U.S. Navy military. This is for today. So see these white areas. This is where the sea ice is opening up. Here around Franz Josef Land and along the coastlines here in the Kara Sea, also by Severnaya Zemlya and in the Laptev Sea here. Also in Quadrant 1, this is the hole that's opening up, and we can see that's going into the whitish area now. And then here in the Bering Sea and Bering Strait, you can see that's melting away. Here along the Alaska coastline, that's opened up, and then Alaska and Canada down here is opened up. And then here in the Baffin Bay, you can see what's happened it's melting around the edges, and here in the Hudson Bay around the edges as well, and it's thinning in the middle there. Here's the 30-day animation, so the data goes back 3 weeks and the forecast goes out a week from now. So let's see what we can see here. So we can see in the forecast period there's a lot of melting going on here in the Bering Sea and Bering Strait. So that's going to be opening up pretty quickly. Also up here in the Okhotsk Sea, around this Russian border, that's clearing out. We can see it's starting to open up here in the Laptev Sea along this Siberia coastline. And you have to remember, this is basically one big piece of ice that moves back and forth according to the dynamics of the ocean and the weather and the wind, and you know, it's a whole bunch of factors that go into this. We can also see it opening up more, or melting around Novaya Zemlya, and the Kara Sea is starting to open up. And this edge, east edge around Greenland, that's starting to thin down. We're going to start seeing a lot more melting here in the Baffin Bay. Also here in the Hudson Bay, we can see that's thinning out. Also here, see this hole by Greenland up here on this northwest corner where the nearest strait comes down. See, that's opening up. Now we are seeing a little bit thicker ice that has come in down here in the Beaufort Sea. Now remember, this is where the thickest sea ice has migrated to. It got squished down during the winter and pretty compressed down here in the Beaufort Sea. And so we've been seeing the green here, and now we're seeing some yellow as well. So the yellow is about 3.75 meters thick. Now here is the Beaufort Sea. Again, sea ice thickness, and you can see the along the coastline that's pulling away here. Now here's some thicker ice along the Canadian archipelago here. Here is this yellow and a little bit of pinkish reddish color coming in here in the Beaufort Sea. But watch, here's the 30-day animation. See, this is going to be breaking up pretty fast. See, it's pulling away from the coastline pretty fast. You see the cracks that open, that's the leads of ice where it opens up. Every time it opens up, the ice sloshes around and then reforms. Here's the Baffin Bay. So this has thinned out a lot this week. See all the white? That's where it's no ice. See, even into this little cubby hole and along this Canadian coastline. Here's the 30-day animation. Now the thickness, according to this scale for the Baffin Bay, is different than the one for the Arctic sea ice. So this dark red is 2 meters thick instead of 5 meters thick. So all of these levels are thinner. So you can really see it's thinning out here, especially in the forecast period. And then as the ice exits down, it'll be melting as well. Here's sea surface temperature in the Baffin Bay, and we can see a lot of it up to 4C here. See, almost all of it is in that 4C range now. So see the purplish where the colors are changing, that's where it's melting, coming in because of the warmer water temperatures coming in. Here's the 30-day animation. So we can see the water heating up there. Here is the Antarctic sea ice thickness for today. So the ozone hole we saw is here and morphing around over this Weddell Sea. This is the Western Peninsula. These are the Larsen ice shelves along here. Here's the 30-day animation. So I wanted to bring your attention to, again, this Western Peninsula. Watch here. See how the ice goes out and then it comes in. There's a retreat. See, there's a definite retreat there. It is coming back out further. I mean, the extent is coming back. It's not real thick, but we've got some ice there. That's all of those. Here's the National Snow and Ice Data Center Sea Ice Index. Well, let's look at the Antarctic since I already have that up. This is for concentration, and the more blue that's here, the less concentrated and thinner it is. but the extent is pretty good, especially for this time of year. Here's the chart for sea ice extent. This blue line is this year, this dark greenish gray line is last year, and this light gray line is the average from 1981 to 2010. So we're just a little above the average. It's still running parallel. It started refreezing earlier than it normally does, but it's just running parallel to that right now. Here's the Arctic. So we're seeing a lot more blues here, as you can see, especially here in the Baffin Bay and here on this east side and in the Bering Strait and so forth. This corresponds to what we're seeing on the Navy model as well, as things are starting to break apart and melt. Here's the sea ice extent chart, and it looks like it's looks like it's kind of leveled off there for the last few days. It's not really gaining. I wouldn't say it's gaining, but it's, you know, it's not going down real fast, but it is going down. This dotted line is 2012, and this gray line is the average 1981 to 2010. Here's Greenland. I promised you we'd be looking at this every week. We're not seeing melting right now. They did have melting in April, but right now we're not really seeing. If we had surface melt going on, it would show up in this salmon color. Now the blue indicates the days that it's already melted this year. Here is the melt extent for this year. See the red line? That's this year. The dotted line again is the median. That's the blue dotted line. So we're about at the median or even a little below. So it's not melting right now at this moment. Now we'll go through Climate Reanalyzer. Let's see. Here are maximum temperatures today, and you can see we're getting warmer air moving in over the Arctic now. Here's 2-meter temperature anomaly. Now here's Russia. See, it's in the reddish zone. That's like up to 18 C higher than normal. And we've got browns over most of the Arctic Ocean. So that's 10. The dark brown is about 10 to 12 C higher than normal. And see all the blue here in Canada. That's the colder air. And see, it's swooping down along this east side. We've got warmer air right above it. Look at this. Here we have Russia. See? And then you've got the blue right next to it. And that's what causes the weather chaos. Now here in the Antarctic, I'm going to click around. I want to show you that. Here we go. So this is flipped from how we normally see it. The western peninsula is here, north is here. Here's the eastern side. This is the Amory ice sheet. See, that's a lot warmer than normal. See, it's colder than normal over the Ross Sea here. But here, over this western peninsula, it's up into the pink zone. And so that's like up to 24°C and higher than normal. Pink and white. When you get that's like the whitish, that's 32°C higher than normal. So, you know, parts of it are a lot colder, and then other parts are a lot warmer. Worldwide, we're up 0.2°C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.8°C. The Arctic is up 1°C. The Antarctic is at -3°C, so that's lower than normal. Southern hemisphere is 0.3°C lower than normal. And the tropics are up 0.4°C. So everything's out of balance. Here's precipitation and clouds. Let's see the rain moving up from the North Atlantic. There's also rain all the way across Russia here. See that? It's raining in Alaska. And wherever it's raining, and you see it raining in these Arctic areas, you gotta worry about the permafrost thawing. And so that's, see, rain up north here in Canada. Up on this western side of Canada too. And here's this big weather system from Texas all the way up through the middle of the country, all the way up through Nebraska, South Dakota, and so on. And there's going to be lots of flooding. It's going to be disastrous for the farmers, and it's not good. So that's what we've got. That's the world we live in these days. Here's the jet pieces. It's not a stream anymore. See where it's broken up? That's where that cold air is scooting down. And the same thing on this eastern side. Look at the southern hemisphere. That's craziness. So there's no rhyme or reason. There's not a stream. It's broken up into pieces, and it's weather chaos. It looks worse every time I see it. Here's sea ice and snow cover today. Here's sea surface temperature anomaly as of yesterday. So around Greenland here, we're seeing the dark brown moving into red even. So that's a lot warmer than normal, so that's causing that ice to melt there. Look at the Great Lakes, they're already in the browns. And I wanted to also bring your attention to this band of dark brown going all the way across the Atlantic. And we also have that across the Pacific. I was wondering if these are shipping routes that are, where the ships normally go, and it's heating up the ocean. I don't know. Just a thought. And then here in this, I don't know the name of this sea, between Japan and Korea. See, that's already in the red there. The Mediterranean, see, that's heating up. See, it's brown here by just north of Africa and south of Turkey, next to what is that? Is that Lebanon? I think that's Lebanon and Israel. Those areas, the Middle East. And then we still have red down here in the South Atlantic, off the coast of South America, going across. And then on the west side of Africa, it's warm. Worldwide, we're up 0.4 C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.5 C. The North Atlantic is up 0.6 C. North Pacific is up 0.5 C. Southern hemisphere is up 0.3 C. And the equatorial Pacific is in balance. So there's that. Now we'll move on to NASA Worldview. I'll refresh and get all the data that we can. Here we go. Here we're looking down at the North Pole. I turned on the sea ice concentration layer. Where you see all the colors, that's where it's melting. See here in the Baffin Bay, that's in high melt. See all the reds and different colors there. Up here, this is part of the nearest strait. See, that's open here, and then it's starting to melt in, and then down at the bottom there, and there's a hole here on this northeast edge of Greenland. And here, see all these colors on this the east side of Greenland. See. Again, here's Svalbard. Here's Franz Josef Land. A lot of this is open water. Now, see, this ice is deteriorating pretty quickly here. You'll see when we look at the satellite view, you'll see open water here. Here's Novaya Zemlya, and we have high melt going on here in the Kara Sea, it looks like. Here's Severnaya Zemlya. Here is this island here, the bottom. This is Komsomolets. Sometimes I say Komsolomets. I'm just more comfortable saying that, but it's Komsolomets, and this is where we're seeing the methane billowing up for a year and a half now. And also out in this North Kara Sea too. But a lot of this is open water now, but that's in high melt, you can see that. Then here in the Laptev Sea, that's starting to really break up. And here coming across, there's a big lead that's already come apart. And here's New Siberian Islands. This area along here is the East Siberian Arctic shelf, and this is one of the main areas where Natalia and Igor have found high reserves of methane in the sediment. Here on the Siberia coastline, see it's melting there, here by Wrangel Island, and here by Alaska. Here's the Bering Strait. See all these colors? I'm just showing you this so you have an idea of, what's melting, coming apart before we go to the satellite view. Because in the satellite view we have to deal with clouds too. So this gives us an idea of the melting. And then here's the Hudson Bay. Okay, now we'll start in with our satellite view. Let's start down here by Greenland. This is open water. This is a cloud coming across. This is where the nearest strait comes down, and so that's opening up. And when you don't look at it for a whole week, you can see quite a bit of change already. See, these pieces are coming apart. A lot of open water already. See open water here. And you can see the ice coming apart here. My mouse has a mind of its own. And then in this Hudson Bay, you can see a lot of changes here. So that's opened up on this east side. And it's opening up over here. It looks like a cloud that we're looking through there. We just have a little fringe of ice coming down to the southern tip of Greenland. Now you can see a lot of open water here on this east side of Greenland. See, this ice is really coming apart now. Here's that northeast corner where that's opened up. This is just north of Greenland. Here's the ice there. Now I wanted to show, now this is the nearest strait. Now yesterday, this was a better view, no clouds yesterday, and we can see the ice breaking up here, just north of Greenland. Let's see. Now here's some areas, see around the coastline. See, that's already opened up. See the blue. This is an exit point for sea ice that comes through here. Another exit point is over here on the Fram Strait between Greenland and Svalbard. So let's take a peek. So this is an area that's really starting to come apart. This is the east side of the ice. See that? Right. I think we've got some clouds here. Let's look at yesterday. That's a little easier to see. Yeah. See, lots of water there in between. See that? That's really breaking up fast. Here's Franz Josef Land. Let's look at that today. Here we go. See this on the right side? That's all opened up. That's a cloud that we're looking through. And just a fringe of ice beyond that. Here's Novaya Zemlya. Now, see, it's opened up on this east side of the island and on the west side. So here's the ice in the Kara Sea. That's melting, coming apart, and it's already come away from the coastline. See, here's the Yamal Peninsula. Here's the Gulf of Ob. Now here's Severnaya Zemlya, and here's Komsomolets. I wanted to go back. Yesterday, see all this open water. That's all opened up there. Isn't that something? So here are clouds, but you can see a lot of open water there. It's already cleared out. And then this is the Kara Sea, the Laptev Sea. Sometimes I get them mixed up. Here's Taimyr Peninsula. Let's see what it looks like today. Here we go. See these leads opening. Here's a lot of open water there. See, here we go. Open water, open water. And here's where it's coming apart. This lead goes all the way across to the other end of Russia. There's a little, it's kind of like an ice shelf that goes along the coastline and out to these islands here. And so that melts later. This stuff in the middle melts first. Here's the Bering Strait. Here we are yesterday. See the cloud. A lot of open water here. See, that's in high melt. Here's Alaska. That's a cloud. This is all open water there. Here's Barrow. See, this is opened up. Down here. Here's the Beaufort Sea. See, all that's melting. So the thickest sea ice is right in here. Right in this area. Now it's already coming apart, see? See the leads coming out. Let's see what it looks like today. Wow, that's a big change. Look at that. From yesterday to today. See the difference? Here's Ellesmere Island. Let's see if there's anything here. Not yet that I can see. And then we're back to Greenland. That's that. So that's where we're at with Arctic sea ice. I wanted to briefly show space weather today. We've got a geomagnetic storm watch. It's a minor G1 class geomagnetic storms are possible on May 18th to 19th when a pair of coronal mass ejections, or CMEs, is expected to hit Earth's magnetic field. The two CMEs left the Sun on consecutive days, one from sunspot AR 2822 on May 13th, the next from sunspot AR 2823 on May 14th. Individually, the CMEs appear to be weak and insubstantial. However, they could add up to a geomagnetic storm when they arrive in quick succession this Tuesday. Then they've got a long article about the Great Geomagnetic Storm of May 1921. So this would be interesting to read. I'm not going to go over it, but they had all kinds of problems. Things burned up and blew up, and that was, 100 years ago, and so we're a lot more technological now and have things that can go wrong now. I wanted to show this huge coronal hole. See, it's Earth facing, then down here too. So this will be spewing out solar radiation too. And see these bright areas? Those are the sunspots going off. Here's a big one coming around. That's all I wanted to show there. Now we'll look at earthquakes. I took these pictures this morning. There were 199 worldwide. Here in the lower 48, there were 108. And we had a 4-something here on the Juan de Fuca plate today. Southern California is showing 21. Searles Valley Ridgecrest had 13. The largest was that 2.4 at Trona. From western Nevada over to Mammoth Lakes are 28. The largest was a 3.6 at Mena. Here just west of Reno were 2, 1.5 at Sierraville and a 1.8 near Lake Davis. That's by Portola. This is along the San Andreas fault line In the San Francisco area and a little further south, there were 4 today. The geysers had 22 today. That's kind of an average number. Here's a 3.0 at Redway, California. That's on this fulcrum point where the San Andreas fault line comes up and joins the Juan de Fuca plate. And then over here at Lake Almanor was a 1.0. Here's this 4.1 off the coast of Oregon. See, it's right in the middle of the Juan de Fuca plate. That came in this morning at 7:57. See, there's nothing here in Seattle or Oregon, but we've got 7 over here in the Yellowstone area, mainly Idaho. And then further east there was a 2.5 at Shell, Wyoming. West Texas only had 1, a 2.7 south of Guadalupe Peak. Oklahoma is showing 3. The largest was a 2.4 near Buffalo. Here in Puerto Rico over to the Dominican Republic are 12. The largest was a 4.4 near Piedra Blanca, Dominican Republic. So that was on land. Here's a 4.9 at Ascension Island region. This is in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean between South America and Africa. We've got 5 in South America today. These are 4.5 to 4.2. Hawaii is showing 28 today. Alaska is only showing 26 today. Yeah, last night I was watching the earthquakes and they just all went down. I think there were, at one point there were like 5 or 6, and they had been 60 and 70 up here a day for the longest time. And now here we are at 26. So what's going on here? It always worries me when I see a huge decrease in Alaska like that. Here in the Kermadec Islands in Tonga, we've got 2. They're both 4.7s. Here at Papua New Guinea are 5. A 5.0, 4.6, 4.6, 5.3, 4.9, and 4.6. This is the Japan region. We've got 7 here. 5.7 is the largest one. We'll look at that in a little more detail. But we also have a 4.4 up here in the Kuril Islands. This is part of Russia territory, but it's right next to this northern island of Japan. So we've got 5.7 Kushiro. It's up in this area off the coast of Hokkaido. 4.4 Kushiro, 4.1 Kushiro, 4.5 Nami. This is off the coast of where Fukushima is. 4.3 Kushiro, 4.4 Kurilsk, and a 4.7 down here at the bottom in the Bonin Islands region. Here's a close-up with where that 5.7 came in. Then we've got 3 in this picture 4.0 at Sungurlu, Turkey, 4.1 at Moris, Greece, and a 4.7 at Mor, Iran. Now that one in Iran, see, it's on the east coast of the Persian Gulf. And then we have one in southern Africa, Zimbabwe, 4.1 near Cherezi. And here's a picture I took last night. See, Alaska got down to 6 earthquakes here at one point. I thought there was something wrong with USGS. 6 out of 163 worldwide. And then it went down to 162. See. And then here we are at 199 when I took the pictures this morning. So they're starting to go back up now. So here we are on the website. Now we're back up to 221. We've got a new one down here on the South Shetland Islands region, but it's on this western peninsula. So not only do we have temperatures a lot warmer than normal here, but our ozone hole, and now an earthquake of 4.6 here. So lots of activity going on there. What's going on? South America is the same. We've got new activity here. 5.1 at Tonga, 258 kilometers deep. Here's a new one. We've got 2 new ones in Iran. A 5.3 and a 5.4 on top of each other near Bojnurd, Iran. See what Alaska's coming back to life. See what they've got now. 47, so that's going back up. Here in the lower 48, 105. And see, they're still coming in. We've got Southern California there. So that's what we've got. So that's my show for today. And we'll finish up by reading in the Bible, but before we do that, if you would like to see more frequent shows, I invite you to check out my Subscribe Star page. The link is in the description box below. I post over there. I use it. I'm not on Facebook, and I don't use Twitter hardly at all anymore. This is Subscribe Star. I created that space over there a couple of years ago, going on 3 years now, as a alternative to where I can post my work, and then it's up for my subscribers for a week over there, and then I archive it over to my website. But I do constant reporting on methane, and I show all the latest on the methane over there. And also report on sea ice during the week, and earthquakes, and other things as well. So we'd love to have you over there. Now we will finish up by reading out of the Bible. We're still in 1 Corinthians. These are letters that Paul wrote to the Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. The wife hath not power of her own body, but the husband, and likewise also the husband hath not power of his own body, but the wife. Defraud ye not one the other, except it be with consent for a time, that ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency. But I speak this by permission, and not of commandment, for I would that all men were even as I myself. But every man hath his proper gift of God, one after this manner, and another after that. I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide even as I. But if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord, let not the wife depart from her husband. But and if she depart, let her remain unmarried, or be reconciled to her husband. And let not the husband put away his wife. But to the rest speak I, not the Lord. If any brother have a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. And the woman which hath an husband that believeth not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now are they holy. But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or sister is not under bondage in such cases, but God hath called us to peace. For what knowest thou, O wife, whether thou shalt save thy husband? And how knowest thou, O man, whether thou shalt save thy wife? But as God hath distributed to every man, as the Lord hath called every one, so let him walk. And so ordain I in all churches. Is any man called being circumcised? Let him not become uncircumcised. Is any called in uncircumcision? Let him not be circumcised. Circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing, but the keeping of the commandments of God. Let every man abide in the same calling wherein he was called. Art thou called being a servant? Care not for it, but if thou mayest be made free, use it rather. For he that is called in the Lord, being a servant, is the Lord's free man. Likewise also he that is called, being free, is Christ's servant. Ye are bought with a price, be not ye the servants of men. Brethren, let every man, wherein he is called, therein abide with God. Now concerning virgins I have no commandment of the Lord, yet I give my judgment, as one that hath obtained mercy of the Lord, to be faithful. I suppose therefore that this is good for the present distress. I say that it is good for a man so to be. Art thou bound unto a wife? Seek not to be loosed. Art thou loosed from a wife? Seek not a wife. But and if thou marry, thou hast not sinned, and if a virgin marry, she hath not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh, but I spare you. But this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they had none, and they that weep as though they wept not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoice not, and they that buy as though they possess not, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passeth away. But I would have you without carefulness. He that is unmarried careth for the things that belong to the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But he that is married careth for the things that are of the world, how he may please his wife. There is difference also between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman careth for the things of the Lord, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. But she that is married careth for the things of the world, how she may please her husband. And this I speak for your own profit, not that I may cast a snare upon you, but for that which is comely, and that ye may attend upon the Lord without distraction. But if any man think that he behaveth himself uncomely toward his virgin, if she pass the flower of her age, and need so require, let him do what he will, he sinneth not, let them marry. Nevertheless, he that standeth steadfast in his heart, having no necessity, but hath power over his own will, and hath so decreed in his heart that he will keep his virgin, doeth well. So then, he that giveth her in marriage doeth well, but he that giveth her not in marriage doeth better. The wife is bound by the law, as long as her husband liveth, but if her husband be dead, she is at liberty to be married to whom she will, only in the Lord. But she is happier if she so abide after my judgment, and I think also that I have the Spirit of God. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. So I hope everyone has a good week. It's getting crazier all the time, but if we're rooted in God and Jesus and just stay on the straight and narrow, keep our eyes on heaven, I think that's the best way to go. And follow the teachings of Jesus and know that time is short. And if you haven't given your life to Jesus Christ, I recommend you do it now before it's too late and while you still have a chance. So I love you all, and until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.